I got to the till, the barista not only had the audacity to be a woman, derogatory, but also talk to me. This is unacceptable. So in no uncertain terms, I screamed, "Excuse me, whore! I'm married! Do not flirt with me!" As I proceeded to show her my phone wallpaper and wallet photos, which were both of my live fallen shadow, and then I proceeded to growl at her until the police arrived to escort me out. So how was you guys' days?
And now, the nations of the world who hate Johnny, presented by Eva. United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador, too, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Belize, Nicaragua, Bermuda, Bahamas, Tobago, San Juan, Paraguay, Uruguay, Suriname, and French Guiana, Barbados, and Guam. Norway and Sweden and Iceland and Finland and Germany now one piece. Switzerland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Italy, Turkey and Greece. Poland, Romania, Scotland, Albania, Ireland, Russia, Oman. Bulgaria, Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Cyprus, Iraq and Iran. There's Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, both Yemen, Kuwait and Bahrain. The Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium and Portugal, France, England, Denmark and Spain. India, Pakistan, Burma, Afghanistan, Thailand, Nepal, and Bhutan, Cambodia, Malaysia, then Bangladesh, Asia, and China, Korea, Japan, Mongolia, Laos, and Tibet, Indonesia, the Philippine Islands, Taiwan, Sri Lanka, New Guinea, Sumatra, New Zealand, then Borneo, and Vietnam, Tunisia, Morocco, Uganda, Angola, Zimbabwe, Djibouti, Botswana, Mozambique, Zambia, Swaziland, Gambia, Guinea, Algeria, Ghana.
So, if there's someone to point the finger at, it would be his brother! Oh my God! Oh my God, nobody look! Nobody look! Nobody look! Nobody look! Nobody look! Nobody look!
Hello, everybody. How are we doing this? Fine. Fabulous, fantastic Monday. I'm sick as shit, but we're gonna go ahead and... While avoiding coughing on, microphone, we're gonna go ahead and try and trudge along. The elf needs... Oh my God, here we go. You're all for 4 months. Thank you so much. This elf needs flapping. I, however, hear Santa is in need of more elves in his sweatshop, so this flapping will have purpose more than just... well, first of all, Santa doesn't, hire undead elves, and I'm undead, so you know. The Lolly's back. Thank goodness. I thought you were kidnapped, but no. I was almost, but then he found out that I was undead, and he's like, yo, get out of here. But, no, I had to do a, quick little traveling trip down the west coast into Mexico. We had a sneaky suspicion that the boatyard that was basically hosting our boat was not being respectful. And so we got down there, and turns out, yeah, that's what happened. The entire thing. Oh, thank you so much for the 10 gifted memberships. Death the Goat, once again. I got muted. Thank you so much. And also Lisa for 8K112 for being a member for 4 months. But yes, we had, what's it called? We had everything taken from the boat, down to the engine. I mean, the inboard, the outboard, solar panels, charge controller, TV, bed, reverse osmosis desalinator, water heater, basically 6 to 10 grand of equipment that would have been great for nomadic living of any kind, gone and taken by the boatyard. So we routed through San Diego, and on the way back, and kind of just tried to enjoy ourselves on the way back after such a disappointing thing, and we managed to get sick while we were on our way back. Pretty bad. I got back a late Friday evening, and pretty much spent all Saturday and Sunday just sick as a dog. My fever broke literally this morning, like early this morning. And thank you, Richard Cardamon, for the welcome back head pats. And look, I can do this. Look at that. That's so cool. Now that being said, let's go ahead and say hi to all the people who have been streaming on in, shall we? Skittles, Nico Manhera, Fox, Festiva, Devastator, God and DV, that's a goat emblyon, this fantasy, the best Remy, D-Fest, Nerdy takes an account, Nico Manhera, Fox, who I already said, whoops, my bad, Nerdy, I already said that too, Mayuruk, Jillian, Siobhan, hello, Purple Compile, Magma Fox, Lucifer, Icebox551, Sleepy Weepy 2776. And all these other people. Richard Cardamon, I already said, but you know. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope you can get it back. No, nothing. We're not getting anything back. Everything from the boat is gone. The boat is abandoned. We're basically just moving on and starting a new chapter because there's no way for me to really recover anything given it's in a different country. So different countries' laws and stuff apply, and I honestly do not want to go through the headache of like looking into all of that. So I'm going to have to take this as a hard lesson, and that's about it. But that's alright. Speaking of though hard lessons, we do have some legal mindset fast facts to react to. In fact, we have 2 of them to react to. We have Somali's Small Victory, and we also have Emiru's criminal allegation. Lawyer reviews fast facts. This was done just a couple hours ago, but I think
Meteoric 91 gives Eva some head pats and says extensive welcome back head pats.
Thank you so much for the head pats. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just realized my background music isn't on, and now it is. Even though I'm gonna have to turn it off because we're about to start this shizzle. The boat no, I mean more or less, yeah. The boat is still physically where it should be, but everything of value has been taken off of it. So, you know, an Astro Cataclysm 8897. Welcome, and Chip Whittley as well. So, let's see here, the legal mindset. We're gonna start with Emiru's criminal allegations. This has been something a few people have asked me about in a quick backdrop. Basically, while I was gone, not only did Emiru, end up, assaulted and battered on, at TwitchCon by a man who decided he wanted a hug and he was gonna get the hug regardless of consent being established or not. She went through all that at TwitchCon, and then she released some allegations with some receipts and testimony regarding Miss Kiss mistreatment of her. We're gonna get into basically the bare bones of all this stuff. I do know, based on Emiru's claims, Emiru has claimed that she had a lawyer review her statements and stuff like that. This is a little bit too loud. There we go. A second plushie has hit the streamer, yes indeed. Now, for those who don't know what that means, trust me, you're gonna know pretty soon. But, Emiru said that her statements were reviewed by a lawyer before she made them, but Miss Kith made a response that was just pretty god-awful. I mean, it's very obvious to me it was reactionary and it had not been run by a lawyer whatsoever. I will say, you know, we're going to have to see other things other than just like, you know, public calling out on Twitch or on Twitter. We need to see RTOs filed. We need to see police reports, civil action, whatever. We need to see some stuff here. As particular regarding the claims, I think more so than defamation or anything like that. I think the biggest claim that Emiru would have is intentional infliction of emotional distress. That probably would be one of the strongest things that she could actually bring against Miss Kiff. But that being said, that's the kind of the setup here. We're gonna let our good old friend Andrew with Legal Mindset cover it a little bit more better and condensed. And here we go.
Emiru versus Miskiff. There are giant allegations, some of which could be criminal, as we investigate this streamer on streamer battle. Of course, Legal Mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney. This is the Fast Facts version of the latest in legal news. If you like the Fast Facts, if you like the format, make sure to like the video and leave a comment below. So let's jump right into it today with this, which is a highly requested topic with massive legal implications.
With an IED. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Why? But that's super funny. And thank you, Death the Goat, for being a Euro for 6 months. It's good to have you back, Eva. It's good to be back, even at, I would say I'm at maybe 60 or 70%. Like, I'm over the hump of how sick I got, but it's still definitely a long recovery right now. Probably another day or two.
Could be the streaming court case that I think might even go beyond the Ethan Klein versus Frogan and Denims and Casey Tron, although that's a pretty crazy one as well. But this one is more personal in nature, and I think that's what makes it so interesting and so fascinating, albeit in a unfortunate way. So let me start with some disclaimers, of course, in my PP, my PowerPoint. First of all, I do not know these people. One of the fortunate things about being outside of the streamer bubble, which I pretty much define as the American streamers that pretty much all hang out together, that are all doing house parties, they're going out, going out.
Like, I mean, Legal Mindset is getting up there as, like, a popular streamer and stuff like that, but he's not in, like, the popular streamer clique, you know what I mean? He's not going to these parties, he's not hooking up in a streamer house where a bunch of them decide to live under the same roof and stuff. A lot of these ones are all at Texas and stuff like that, right? Legal Mindset's not really a part of any of that. So, what's nice is he kind of is, while he is a popular streamer, he's an outsider looking in. That gives him a bit better, in my opinion, perspective on what's going on here and what's been, thrown around and alleged.
Each other. There's advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantages, of course, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what people are doing. You're not listening to, the latest tips and tricks, etc. But at the same time, right, and this is the important point here, you're removed from the drama and you're protected from it. I would not want to be at one of these alleged parties or events, etc., and have seen these things going down. That's just a giant liability. And to me, hearing what these things going down is a great example of why you should not date people that are effectively your coworkers. And in this case, we're going to deal with, what can be intercompany drama, intercompany issues here. And one other thing that kind of popped out to me as a disclaimer is that streamers are kind of weird in the way that they operate and the way that they manage their relationships and the way that they deal with their interpersonal stuff.
Yeah, a lot of streamers don't have, I don't know, it's like a lot of them just don't have social understanding.
I know that Emiru and others have said, hey, this isn't stuff they would bring up online. Private life should be private. And I very much agree with that. But airing out all of your dirty laundry of your relationship live for millions to see.
Wait, this fantasy. Now I'm... What's the Pence rule? I'm sorry, this is very interesting to me. This fantasy just said if Emmy had followed the Pence rule, everything would have been fine probably. I know I'm very socially inept and I have no idea what the Pence rule is. Like in this context at least.
Is just not really the way to go. And I think, looking at this, for all those that are wondering, hey, I want to become a streamer, you might want to think again, because there are various tolls, whether it's on your personal life, as you see here, relationships, mental health. There's a lot of things. Stress, I can speak to that. I've been very, very stressed out lately because it's a lot of pressure mentally, right? Not physically. It's not construction, right? It's not the hardest job physically ever. No, but there's a lot of mental pressure. There's a lot of social pressure, and that is very, very much true. But I will say one other thing as a disclaimer. I am going to focus on the law, as always, and focus on the, legal issues here at hand. But as a non-legal observer, taking off my handsome lawyer hat for a second, right? Moodang's wearing the hat right now. But we're taking off the hat.
Oh my God, the Moodang is amazing.
And we're, as just a human being who watched
I'm sorry, can we... Does he just have a giant Mudang plushie in the background? Because,
Watch this.
extremely based with the Mudang plushie.
I do not find Miskiff to be very credible. His story is not looking good. It is at a disadvantage. Now, I cannot say with certainty, absent proof in court or other hard evidence.
Okay, you know, honestly, I will say, I also don't, I don't believe, it's not that I don't believe Miskiff, I just don't, I guess that is a word. I just don't buy what he's trying to say. I mean, he's trying to, like, bring out, like, you know, oh, well, Emiru was abusive and violent as well because she threw clothes and plushies at me. You're gonna see the plushies. They're Kirby fucking plushies. I mean, yeah, she shouldn't be throwing things at you, period, but if they're clothes and plushies, I'm sorry, but the potential for harm is very low.
Who is guilty, who is not guilty, etc. But all of the factors right now favor Emiru. Emmy looks...
What just happened? Hold on. We just lost our, There. Let's do this.
Much more credible. Her presentation was much more credible. She seemed genuinely distraught versus Miskiff, who really only seemed distraught at the fact that this is going to...
I've seen a couple clips of Emiru's presentation. I have seen a more of Miskiff's presentation than I have of Emiru's. His actions are aggressively defensive in a way that makes him look guilty. Absolutely agreed. Concur. Ravenfire.
Ruin his career. He did not seem genuinely troubled by this on a deep sense. Both of them need to be speaking to lawyers. I do think Emmy is doing that. I'm not sure about Miskiff, although I'm sure he's thinking about it now. If he's hatching all these crazy...
Look, I'm 100% just going to say this. I would bet money that Miskiff has yet to talk to a lawyer. At least to the recording of his response video, right? Maybe he has since shacked up with a lawyer and actually can it actually, you know, isn't going to be retarded here. But up to the point of his response and the posting of, I'm sorry, I don't believe he talked with a lawyer. I believe Emiru has spoken with a lawyer. But I just cannot, I mean... Yeah, Miskiff is a special kind of dumb with his response. And I even think I mentioned that to Legal Mindset, because me and him were talking, and at first, like when none of the allegations were out in the open, but it was just murmurings, and even though I think it just made her statement, we are wondering is maybe things didn't feel a little scripted. But then Miskiff made his response. And I guess all sides that this might be scripted or this might be a play completely flew out the window with how stupid Miskiff's response was. I absolutely am apologetic. This response shows so much that this is not a scripted thing. This is not a grift. This is not clout chasing. This is someone being really, really fucking retarded.
Easy plans like using rabbits as blackmail material. I'm sure he's spoken to a lawyer at some point. I don't think a lawyer reviewed his statement. I think he wrote down the statement and he just read it.
Gives Eva some
if I was a
hip-pats
lawyer and I was
happy air
advising
flaps.
him, I would not
There we go. Hold up.
tell him to
wanna
say the
make
things he
sure-
said. I would tell him to, keep that private and bring it up in court. But they decided to say it. And by saying
They
it,
decided to
there's
say
pretty
it,
much
yeah.
mutual defamation going on. Now, I'm saying mutual defamation because somebody is telling the truth and somebody is not telling the truth, or perhaps both parties may be fabricating certain periods. Once again, I'm taking a neutral stance. I don't know. I have a...
Now, I will say, if I remember, one of Miskiff's responses was a criminal allegation that Emiru neglected her bunnies, which is why her bunnies died. Now, the issue with that is 100% a criminal allegation that you've made. Animal neglect or animal abuse is illegal. It can be a felony depending on the state and like the level of abuse. But like this is very clear objectively a criminal allegation that Mitskiff made against Emiru that tells me that a lawyer did not review his response, because a lawyer would have saw that and said, you need to take that out, that's defamation. This is kind of how we know, at least for one side, well, maybe a little more than the other, but at the very least, there's defamation going on, and one of the statements very clearly wasn't reviewed by a lawyer because a lawyer would have caught that and told him to take it out.
Bias based on my observations, I think Emmy is the more credible one so far. But from a neutral taking out those non-legal observations, the defamation is there somewhere. Somebody is defaming somebody, so they need to speak to lawyers and get on top of that. So let's talk about Emmy first. I watched all of these videos. I sat today and watched all 3 hours of videos, including Asmongold's reaction to them. Shout out to the Roach King. I did think her presentation, once again, was very credible, and she also brought some receipts. She had the text messages, which was much more credible than the evidence that was brought by Mitskiff, showing some random video of what could be any single rabbit's enclosure, or not even a rabbit. It could be another animal. Who knows? There was no rabbit in the actual video.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty retarded.
Very questionable. And it certainly does not, quote unquote, prove anything. And proving stuff online and social media really doesn't get you any points if you get hit with a restraining order, if you get with criminal, certain criminal.
Jessica, actually, you're bringing up a good point. Bunnies are, look, if you want a lifelong pet, do not get a bunny. A bunny is so ridiculously fragile, they can die literally for no reason. I mean, like, you made a noise that was too loud and it stressed them out and they have a heart attack and die. You handle them improperly, they get a spinal injury and die. I mean, you don't keep their cage clean enough. They get mites and other infections and die. I mean, rabbits and bunnies are incredibly fragile, and I could very much see somebody throwing tantrums and punching holes in the fucking wall. I'm sorry, but I could see that creating enough stress for a bunny to kill them. Just saying.
Sanctions, criminal penalties might happen there, or civil liability. That's not going to protect you. So I think she did a good job of presenting it. I know it was troubling. I know she was sick, but overall presentation by Emmy was good. So what are the main allegations in the criminal stuff and civil stuff I focused on? First, there's blackmail and coercion. So that is the aspect where if you go and speak out about a relationship, which is at the key here, and say bad things, etc., I am going to drop the rabbits, and we're going to get into the rabbits when we get into Mitskiff, but I'm going to coerce you into not speaking. This is a problem for several reasons. One of which, once again, is these people were coworkers working at the same, under the same umbrella. There's a lot of issues when you're trying to coerce and blackmail a coworker. This can become a broader workplace issue. We know OSHA, right, guys? Real easy to submit that OSHA report.
Good old OSHA, yeah.
Not looking good on that, especially in Texas, under Texas law. There's also under Texas law, assault family violence. Now, understand this is domestic assault in Texas. That's how they brand it.
Yeah,
and remember, assault is not...
I know that, I'm pretty sure, I think Texas doesn't really have battery. They just have different degrees and different definitions for different types of assault. I could be wrong on that. I'm not a Texas lawyer. But if I remember right, I remember reading that Texas deals with assault and stuff a little bit differently.
Not actually striking somebody. It's actually just causing fear of imminent harm. So by punching holes in the wall and by doing other acts of violence, that could be construed as assault family violence. Once again, you don't need to be married for that. You can be a roommate, a boyfriend, etc. in Texas. That's
a big... People look at domestic and think, oh, well, then that means, if they're together or they're, No, it's if you are under the same domicile as the individual who has committed this act of assault against you. Which means that if you are a roommate, if you are just visiting, right, there's any kind of violent behavior around you as an intent to intimidate could absolutely be considered domestic assault.
Now, there could also be sexual assault, maybe. Now, I'm very careful about this because we are, of course, in a, I don't want to say post-Me Too era, but I want to be very, very, very clear. We have at this point, a he said, she said story. Very difficult to prove those and very difficult to litigate those. Also, based on the factors, it seemed like, there was consent at one point, which was withdrawn. Okay, you let him kiss you, and then he jumped on top of you, said no, he got off. So there's some potential. Could it be essay? Yes, it could be. Could a court look at that? Once again, I'm taking a very neutral legal perspective. Could a court look at that and say that's not essay? Also possible, right? So both.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Yeah, there's just, SA is such a difficult one to prove in court. There's a lot of things there's a lot of hurdles that you have to get over. Because while in a loose sense of the definition, sexual assault might have occurred here, there might be a litany of defenses to explain why the situation happened. Like what Andrew just said, consent was given at first and then withdrawn, and then he actually responded to that withdrawal of consent by getting off of Emiru. There's a lot of stuff here that just makes SA really fucking muddy SA thing to go for. Exactly. If he stopped when she said no, then there you go. That's kind of the end of that. But again, it's very difficult to get, and it should be. It absolutely should be. To meet the standards of sexual assault should be very difficult to get to, because that kind of even if it's just over a civil charge, right? Not necessarily criminal. That is a life-ending, a life-ruining allegation. And if it's found as as something that actually happened by the courts, Jesus Christ, your life is over pretty much. So
both of those scenarios, very, very possible there. But she could still try. She could still try to bring that claim. And I think that's the trouble for Miskiff, is that whether or not this is something that would ultimately be adjudicated guilty, being on trial for sexual assault does not look good for your career. There's also intentional infliction of emotional distress. It definitely seems on a civil side like that is a clear thing here. He was trying to afflict her with emotional distress. Yeah. She seems distraught. She seems to have damages. She seems to have
if I remember correctly, there was a point where Emiru shows that Miskiff was basically threatening to self-end himself. Now, that absolutely is a form of, psychopathic manipulation for once, but it's something that can be actionable if you can prove that they are trying to use, I will harm myself if you don't do what I want you to do. That's fucking crazy.
Mental suffering and mental health from that, which is a very real thing. And I think she could bring that claim. So these allegations, once again, they are very serious, but I want to stress this. And this is the point which I want to get to Emmy, if she's listening to this. Emmy, you need to make sure you're taking official action. Now, I know you're getting a restraining order, and that's good. A restraining order is a good first step. But understand, your restraining order may be limited to just his physical presence. Okay, he physically can't come near you.
I have a thing for
now,
this.
Some courts are willing to issue a more...
I have a thing for this. I actually, I don't mean to have a thing for this, but I have a thing for this. Let's see here. There we go. Yep, here it is. Oh my god, I understand. Stop it. Jesus Christ, YouTube, you have become so pussified, I swear to God. It is a joke from The Office, and you're like, oh my god, it might contain, trigger warning, I guess, for the stream and everything. But this is what I tried to, har, funny thing. But this is basically how Miskiff responded to Emiru.
I'm really sorry, but I have to let you go. And it's purely budgetary. It's not personal.
I'm gonna kill myself!
Wow.
I'm going to kill myself, and it's your fault!
I'm sick. It's Jesus fucking God. That's pretty much what he just did. I mean, that's kind of like, yeah, my God.
A digital restraining order saying you can't talk about you online. That's a little bit more problematic, maybe not constitutional. Some courts will do it, some won't, might be overthrown. But what really should happen is a police report here of some kind, maybe EEOC, OSHA. Once again, they were working together. This could be a situation in which this was bleeding over into her work. And once again, what was key to her testimony, what was key to her talking about, not testimony yet, but her statements. Her statements were, I was streaming this. I was playing a tank in WoW, or I was streaming this game, and he was jealous and made me stop. That's a workplace issue. That's saying, hey, look, they're dating. They were coworkers, right?
Actually, yeah, that
working under the same umbrella legally.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's because, that's a good fucking approach. I didn't even think about, but yeah, they are coworkers. They are both contracted under Twitch.
There you go. I mean, once again.
Len, it really doesn't like when I do that switch. Hold on.
Seems problematic. A reason why you don't date your coworkers. These sort of things will happen with any relationship that's botched. And let me just mention that the majority of relationships fail. So once you factor in that the majority of relationships, just dating casually, are going to fail. You are gambling on a game that you're going to lose. It's a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
Now, listen, have people done stupid things? Yes. Have people dated coworkers in the past? Yes. Look, I'm no saint over here saying it doesn't happen. But what I'm saying is it's a bad idea. It's a very bad idea. Beyond that, you could also do a civil lawsuit. And that's the thing I think would be most fruitful. Now,
I think they both were under OTK. I think you're right. I think that would be an even better. That might be an even better path, is to go through OTK rather than just through Twitch.
defamation might be difficult because you have to expose everything. And that's why I don't push defamation right away. I don't think Emmy should jump to defamation. I think she should start with something else like filing a police report, a workplace claim, or IIED, intentional infliction of emotional distress. With that, you're going to be able to go after Misgift. You're going to be able to get his messages, text messages, etc., depose people that talk to him. I think that would be a smarter move than perhaps going after defamation, but it's up to her and her lawyers and what they decide. Now let's talk about Misgift over here and this lovely, lovely fellow. I found
look at this dude. He literally looks like a retarded caveman. He looks like if somebody tried to put bushy brow like from Naruto, like in real life, but made him look worse. I mean, this guy. I'm sorry, dude. You just look like a creeper. Those brows, though. Those brows are insane.
That what he did was soulless and really just reading off a statement that obviously was prepared. He admitted that, but was not screened, filtered, or really considered harshly. Throwing a plushie or a blanket is not going to get a girl hit with a assault charge or a battery charge. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's not going to come to counter punching a wall, right? Those are...
I mean, I'm sorry. It's so true. Because by the strictest definition of the word, God damn it, we did it again. Hold on. By the strictest definition of the word, sure, technically battery with a plushie is possible, but it's kind of like, you know, the guy who threw a Subway sandwich at that federal agent. Those charges were dropped. They tried to get them with first-degree assault and battery or something like that. It was dropped because it's fucking ridiculous. You hit somebody with a sandwich, yeah, you shouldn't do it, but you also shouldn't have the law come after you and like fucking try and like snap your neck over. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry he threw a plushie at you. That does not justify you punching holes in walls.
Not equivalent things, and perhaps I'm a little bit more hardened by this. You know, growing up in South Florida, having one or two sandals thrown at me at some point, the chancleta. But that said,
yes.
A plushie is not going to be that critical hit that takes you out. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know how soft you are, how much soy you've had for dinner, but that is not going to get a police officer in Texas to go slap some cuffs on Emmy and drag her to the police station. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not happening.
And the fact that he thought his big bullet, his silver bullet, was those rabbits, is a joke. Now, animal cruelty is a crime. And so the thing he messed up on is he's accused her of a crime. So if she did not do that, that is clear defamation. So Emmy now has a claim, in addition to the IAD, a clear defamation
That's defamation
case,
per se.
saying,
That's not even per quad, like, oh, he implied it, he said in the statement, whatever. No. This is something they objectively said that I did not do, that has not been found by any kind of court of law or jury, and therefore this is defamation per se. This is something that's so clearly defamation, it could end in a summary judgment.
you are now accusing me of a crime, animal cruelty, right? Killing the rabbits, right? That is not okay. And here's my thing for Miskiff. Miskiff, bro, if you are so dead set on saying the rabbits are a problem, why didn't you report it to animal control or the local, whatever the local authority is that oversees animal safety and health in your region, right? We talked about Hassan, Collargate. We all know about Collargate, and I helped out on Twitter, on X.
Yep.
I put out the information to contact the local animal services. So why didn't you contact animal services?
So,
if it's such a big deal, bro, where's the report to animal?
There we go. So, I reacted to Collargate like kind of defeated. I said, I feel like I'm calling out into the wind, but this is what California laws Hassan has violated in his inappropriate use of a shock collar on his dog Kaya. And I went into all the statutes and stuff. Fucking legal mindset, he took that and he ran with it. It gave all the numbers if necessary to how to report this and everything. Like, he really freaking went ham on Collargate. Whereas I just kind of did a half-defeat post because I've spent a lot of time on Twitter calling out and just objectively what laws Hassan is breaking from any particular clip. From doxing to harassment, cyber stalking, fucking animal cruelty. I think I've quoted like 4 or 5 different criminal statutes in California that Hassan has, in my opinion, been in violation of. But it never went anywhere. That one kind of blew up. I think it got like 130k likes or something like that. But yeah, Andrew absolutely did fucking lead the charge with Collargate.
Animal services. Let's see it. Show me the Carfax. Oh, you didn't do that. You just want to talk about it for internet clout. You just want to get people on your side. You want to bring up, your mental health as a defense, which isn't a joke. Mental health is a very serious thing, and people using it as a shield really undermines those that have legitimate mental health conditions. And it seems he may have even inflicted Emmy with a mental health condition, which would strengthen her IIED claim. So he really hasn't reported it. And beyond that, if it was under his roof, he might also be liable for it. So that is not really a defense. So if you're keeping animals on your premise and they...
I don't know. Let's just see real quick. Hold on. I want to do a quick little look up because I know the statute for California animal cruelty. But I don't know the statute for... Okay, Penal Code 42.092. Cruelty to non-livestock animals. Okay. Let me just bring this up real quick for you guys. Here we go. So, cruelty to non-livestock animals occurred as of January 1st, 2024. So, it might be a little outdated, but let's see here. Cruel manner custody includes responsibility for the health, safety, and welfare of an animal subject to the person's care and control, regardless of ownership of the animal. So, Miskiff living under the same roof as Emiru and those bunnies means that he would have a partial responsibility and custody over those animals and their welfare. So, absolutely, by the Texas definition of the law, Miskiff, that was a big misstep for him. He shouldn't have done that.
Are abused, you might be liable for that. If you're the co-tenant at an apartment or a house and you are jointly leasing that or jointly renting that, you're liable for that. It's under your roof. It's happening there. So that is not the legal bombshell he thinks it is. Now, if Emmy was lying about everything she said, which once again, I'm not saying she is, I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. If she was lying, then there would be a clear defamation case. Then he could clearly bring a defamation case. However, I don't think he wants all of the messages, text messages, emails, etc., to be obtained through subpoena if he files defamation. And I think this strategy of leaking information not only could constitute blackmail, but it's idiotic, it's childish, and once again, it's not official. None of this is actually official. It's just meant to try to destroy her character, destroy her.
That's absolutely what happened. You can see him reading it off the fucking screen.
Reputation, which once again would just add to her damages if she ever tries to sue you, even for something like IIED. In fact, leaking information to damage someone's reputation, especially very personal information, that very much could be considered intentional infliction of emotional distress. And so what I'm thinking with Mizkif and his absolute mockery of a counter is that you should be very concerned and lawyer up. And at this point, Emmy has a procedural, social, and evidentiary advantage based on what we've seen so far. Mizkif definitely needs a legal counter or he's in trouble. So at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Mizkif throw a lawsuit out there as a last-ditch gambit, as something, even Emmy said, a slap lawsuit, etc. Throw out some sort of lawsuit, which may be dismissed as it's filed, but it still would be a measure to try to stop this or cut back on this. We'll see what happens with that. A restraining order by itself is not going to be enough to end this dispute, and it's not going to be enough to put this to bed. There needs to be some other sort of action that's taken against whoever is responsible, once again being fair and neutral, likely Mizkif, right? But we don't know right now. There needs to be some sort of action officially taken with the police, EOC, OSHA, civil lawsuit, something to close the chapter on this and to find out what exactly was going on and to get all those details out there. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Who do you think is in the right on this one? I know it's probably people are thinking Emmy based on most of the polls, but let me know in the comments below and I'll catch you on.
Yeah, actually, in light of that, I remember somebody suggested, which I will do. Somebody had suggested that I, here it is. Pop-out chat this. Start a poll. There we go. Who do you think is telling the truth? And excuse me. I will go ahead and revisit this poll after our 10-minute fast facts on Somali's small victory. Apparently Somali got a small victory in court or in Korea. Something happened. It's part of why I did the Nations of the World HI. But let's see what's going on.
Johnny Somali, aka Ramzi Khalid Ismail, had a small victory this week in a court case involving Youngman, a Korean streamer. We're going to get on that today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire.
Wait a minute. This sounds like I might be wrong. I might be wrong here, but am I to assume that one of the victims of the deep fake things maybe dropped out? Maybe the guy did, or backed out, or whatever. That's kind of what I'm guessing. I don't think the female would have, but I think the male might have.
American attorney checking in from Bali, Indonesia, where I'm doing a little workcation, getting away from the hubbub and the drama and all the stuff going on in Thailand, just to have a nice peaceful experience where I can go out here and get some videos done. I will say over the next couple days, I'll be doing more fast facts as my internet connection and the adapter are too far away for streaming. So there's going to be a lot of fast facts coming out the next couple days. Hopefully you enjoy that. I'm rocking my nice tropical shirts this week. So, you know, we're going to be relaxed. relaxing, making some fast facts. Hopefully you
Yeah,
like
man,
the
okay,
fast facts
gotcha.
videos, you like this format, you like everything that's going on with the presentation. If you do, make sure you leave a comment below and we will try to get back to you and respond on that. Also, make sure you're following me on Instagram and TikTok. We now have TikTok at the.legal.mindset. And you can follow me over there. We're doing a lot of shorts. We're doing a lot of other content. So I'm very excited with the team I have to support me.
Look, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Andrew. I will never, ever install TikTok. Not even to follow you. I'm sorry, my bud. You got me on like on Rumble. You got me on YouTube. You got me on X. I got so many other things that I will follow you on, but never TikTok. I'm sorry.
Now, which are doing an absolutely amazing job. That said, let's get right into the PP. Let's get right into the actual facts of this Somali quote-unquote win. And this definitely is something that needs clarification because there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of information, and not of anybody's fault, but because of some of the communication issues and some of the lack of understanding of the people presenting on this that don't understand what really happened here and how this is, it is a Somali win. I'm not going to sugarcoat it once again on the legal mindset. I'm very honest with you. One way or another, I may not like Johnny Somali, but that doesn't mean I'm going to lie about the law and pretend that he didn't come out of this better. So let's talk about what happened in this court case this week. So the next trial is, of course, still October 29th. So Johnny Somali's own trial,
so that
his
means 2
trial,
days.
is still on October 29th. That is not changing. The witnesses are not changing. They still have 3 witnesses on the docket, Bong Bong, Youngman, and Hank. Now, because of what happened, Youngman is less relevant. In fact, while he's on the docket,
no.
he may just be dismissed. They may just say, okay, we don't need Youngman
Okay,
anymore
gotcha.
because of what happened at this trial. Now, this trial of the streamer Youngman happened on October 22nd, 2025. Now, this was attended by the members of the SCT and Atozi. Atozi was there. Shout out to Grandpa Atozi telling me to stop cursing. And that's working out better on YouTube. But there needs to be a clarification because some of the things that were communicated have generated some misunderstanding. So first of all, Ramzi Khalid Ismail Somali was a witness during this trial. Now, this was a trial of Youngman. Now, Youngman faced not just a deep fake because he showed the deep fake of himself and of Hank making out half naked. Once again, it's a deep fake. He showed it on his stream openly, not as an accident. I believe it may have even been shown multiple times. So essentially what happened was there was a kind of counters, right? There was, hey, you showed this, I showed this, we both showed this, so we're going to have charges against each other. Now, I actually know Youngman. In fact, I met Youngman. Here's me and Youngman. We did an interview, which I don't think I aired this interview, but I've talked about this. This was one that happened right before Youngman, who's the guy over there in the jacket and the glasses, threw a brick through the courthouse, the very same courthouse that Somali was involved in during the incident involving the Yoon.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to call it,
Through a fucking
in-house there in the jet. Me and Youngman, we did an interview, which I don't think I aired this interview, but I've talked about this. This was one that happened right before Youngman, who's the guy over there in the jacket and the glasses, threw a brick through the courthouse, the very same courthouse that Somali was involved in during the incident involving the Yoon. I don't want to call it, coup or whatever, electoral kerfuffle, right, that was going on in South Korea. He very much was against Yoon, and he went over to the court, threw a brick through the window, and he was arrested for that. So he's in jail. He's currently in jail. Now, Youngman's a very interesting character, and I can say this from having met him. He's very nice in person, and whenever you meet him, he's super nice. But he's sort of got this Jekyll Hyde thing where he'll be super nice with you, but then he'll go out and he'll say and do the exact opposite thing. So while he can be a very nice person, he often is led astray very easily and goes out and does things that are unpredictable and irrational. And, members of the SCT have met with his family and they've talked with him and they'll get some footage related to Somali and related to other incidents. And, I feel bad for him because he has a very nice family.
Thank you so much for the BGN 10. Hi Eva, hope you're well. How did the travel go? Also, I recall today how my mom and granny watched Ally McBeal when I was little. So I'd be interested to see you review how the characters fare as Lowe's. Ally McBeal. I've never even heard of that. So I'd have to take a look at it, but that is definitely something I might be interested in doing if there was like, if it's a law show.
CT met his mom, very nice woman, and he seems
That we did it again. Hold on. I gotta figure out how to fix that at one plate.
to have a good side. He just gets led down these bad paths.
What in the heck just happened? It happened again. Come on, you little boopy.
So he's facing three charges of which could put him in behind bars for a very, very long time. So he had a strong interest to not be in jail for the rest of his life and get rid of these charges. Therefore, when you look at what happened with this kid,
Look, I'm young enough that Robert Downey Jr., the first thing I ever saw him in, I believe, was Iron Man or Tropic Thunder, and that was when I was like a kid. Like, seriously. Like 7 or 8 years old, so.
You see that he decided to get rid of those charges the way he could. Now, what happened at this trial? So Ramsey, Johnny Somali, was a witness. And one of the most important things for us to remember is Johnny Somali lied a lot as a witness. And the prosecutors took him to task.
That's not gonna be
now,
good.
understand, this was not his trial. So they couldn't punish Ramsey as harshly for lying as a witness. But it's very important and very critical to show he is going to go into his own trial on the 29th, whether that's the last day or not. Remember, the 29th may not be his last day, and it certainly will not be the sentencing day. He will not be sentenced on the 29th. We're going to have a trial in November, December, some other time in the future. So he's not going to be sentenced. So he lied a lot. He pretended to not know his address. This was relevant because one of the things that he was asked was regarding to stalking, because Jungmann was accused of stalking him. So if you are stalked, you need to know where you are stalked, because where are you staying, right? Where's your address? We pretended not to know. Well, how are you going to not know and say you're being stalked? He knows his address. He just doesn't want to say it because of the lie that happened during the court of his own trial. He said he's moved. He said Hank said he moved, right, during an interview with the K-Town Social Club. However, with the court, Ramsey said he hasn't moved. So there's a conflict. Has he moved or hasn't he moved? Was Hank lying or was Johnny lying, right? Whatever, like somebody's lying here, right? So he pretended not to know. He also was asked who owned the baton, because a big thing was involving this baton. It was an assault that allegedly happened when Jungmann had the baton and allegedly hit him. But who owned the baton? Well, we all know it's Hank. We have the video to show it's Hank. It's clearly Hank's baton. Hank came out holding it. He was disarmed. And then, Jungmann got the baton. So that was a big lie. So it just shows he's going to get on the stand and lie. And while he could get away with it in this trial, he will not get away with it in his own trial because he can be punished for that, and he can be, the judge can take that not kindly when it comes to sentencing. So Jungmann and Ramsey did agree to settle. Now, what does this mean? What this means is that they both said, hey, we're open to dropping the charges against each other. Now, prosecutors in Korea have discretion. They do not have to drop the charges if they don't want to. They could keep going forward. However, they typically will do that. They typically drop them if they both agree to settle. So it is not a guarantee.
Sense, yeah.
It is not a guarantee. And in this case, because both parties had a strong incentive, the prosecutors are like, all right, this makes sense. And Jungmann is the real winner here. I mean, yes, Somali got one charge dropped, but Jungmann got 3 charges dropped. Once again, Jungmann, not entirely sympathetic. He's not the most sympathetic person, but he's just thinking about himself. He's saying, hey, look, I've got 3 charges. I'm going to go down to 0. Ramsey's got 1. He's going to go down to 0. Okay. So what does this mean? What does this turn out? So what happens here is 1 deepfake charge is gone. Guys, look at that.
That's a big
we had
one.
8 charges. He loses 1. Yes, that's 1 less, and that does matter. But he still got all these other charges. And the maximum punishment, and this is very important, does not change. Let's go over to this. The maximum punishment is still 12 years. That has not changed. It's always been 12 years. Hasn't changed. The only thing that changes is each additional count of a crime, not a different crime, but an additional count. So once again, going back to show you, we have 4 counts of obstruction of business. So the maximum punishment for obstruction of business is 5 years, but each count increases the minimum under the guidelines. We had 2 counts of deepfakes. He's still got 7 years max for that one deepfake with Bong Bong, but the minimum goes down. And he's got the 2 minor offenses acts. So right now, he's still facing 12. However, the minimum did decrease, and that is, once again, good for Somali. Somali should be happy about that. However, ultimately, when you look at the balance, he's still likely to get jail time. He's still very likely to get jail time. My estimate is anywhere between 1 to 7 years jail time, even based on this revision. So even based on this revision, my estimate is 1 to 7 years. Now, the judge, if he decides to lie on the stand, whatever else, could say, hey, I'm giving you the max, I'm giving you 12. That is still fully within the judge's discretion. There is nothing stopping the judge from going all the way to the max. But the minimum has dropped. So, okay, we're looking at somewhere between 1 to 7 years, something like that. Even if they're not treating it as aggravated, even if they treat it as default, right? I'm not going to say this is mitigated. This is not a scenario where this is a mitigated situation. He's never said sorry.
Being made a plushie. JP Ravenfire might have more information than I do, but I'm pretty sure a plushie cabbage is being worked on. The video of Elm is very loud. Let me turn it down just a bit. Sorry.
He's never apologized. He's never paid anybody back. None of that's happened. So 1 to 7 years, still very, very, very reasonable. So this is what's going to happen with Somali. We're going to see on the 29th where this goes. Do not give up on this case. Stay on this. We're going to be doing live reporting from that courtroom, which should be open for us at that particular moment. I will be on that completely, and we'll have some coverage perhaps the day before just to prep you guys for this. But I want to know what you guys think about the Somali case. Are you still interested? Do you still want to know what happens to the future cabbage farmer? Let me know. Smash a like, and I'll see you on the next one.
Big time. Okay, so it is a small win. I mean, it is a bigger win than, like, if, like, one of the obstruction charges or something ended up being dropped, because those 2 deep fight charges specifically were pretty... I mean, those were pretty...
The government is shut down. Most governments...
No, shut up, Legal Eagle. Are you fucking kidding me? That was disgusting. I'm so sorry to everyone's ears who might have heard that. Okay, so we have a few more videos to react to. This one is going to be a little bit more...
Okay, in this video we're going to...
it's going to be NateTheLawyer. But once again, similar to what happened before, when I believe it was Letitia James? Was it Letitia James or was it, no, it was James Comey. James Comey was indicted, and we reacted to that, and we were pretty much of the same opinion that Nate had, that there just wasn't a whole lot going on there. It was a 1.5-page indictment. It was honestly a piece of shit. Apparently, this latest indictment of Trump's political enemies targeted John Bolton, but apparently, if the allegations are to be considered true, John Bolton is in some serious trouble. This wasn't just an indictment that came from Trump. Apparently, Bolton was being investigated by Biden for the very things that he has been indicted for. So we're going to see. And what this is, we're going to come at it with a neutral mind, even though I am kind of, after Trump released that True Social post about basically directing Pam Bondi to go after people like James Comey, Letitia James, John Bolton, and now all these people are being indicted. I very much don't like the optics of that, but if John Bolton did indeed do shit that was, worse criminal charges, absolutely he should be charged, regardless of the optics. So, we're gonna see. We are going to see. So, Tish Chains, shilling for Act Blue, I don't know, I don't pay attention to those types of politics. Until the politics comes into the courtroom, I try to avoid, even talking about it. But because this isn't an indictment and everything, and it is the courtroom, we are here, and this is where we are.
Okay, in this video, we're going to talk about the
Here we
John
go.
Bolton indictment. Why even MSNBC says this is a righteous indictment.
You know, this is some professional work here. This quotes emails. This is not the kind of bare bones indictment we saw in the last couple of weeks. If these allegations are true, these are some serious charges.
Now, this is going to be another boring video where we're going to go through the indictment. We're going to actually look at the evidence. You're going to learn how the Biden administration started this investigation, why they chose not to indict Bolton at that time,
Obama's not
and
in
you'll
trouble.
also learn how.
Ignore that. I'm sorry. Ignore that right now. I'm telling you right now. Obama is not in trouble. That is fucking retardation from the Trump administration. The Trump's SCOTUS themselves already said that a president has full and complete criminal and civil immunity when it comes to acting while sitting in office. The allegations that Trump is just stupidly trying to pin on Obama happened during a time when Obama was president, and Obama would have been able to do what he's saying is what Trump is trying to say is illegal. It's absolutely retarded. It has no weight, and honestly, if I see them try to go after Obama like that, I'm just gonna join a resistance, and we're going full on freaking Viva la Revolution. Because again, I'm going by on what the rule of law has said, what our Supreme Court has said. Trump doesn't get to say rules for me, but not for any other president. I know he really wants to do that, but he doesn't get to do that, okay? So throw that out of your head right now. Obama is not in trouble.
Iran is involved, and how John Bolton put American lives at risk by revealing information to the Iranian government. All right, here are the facts. Let's go. Here's a quick message from the sponsor of this video, ZocDoc. You ever do anything weird, something's off? Your eye's swollen, your neck got a weird pain, or you have a cold that just won't quit. And instead of calling a doctor, you scroll TikTok and YouTube like that's gonna fix it. Or maybe you're just too busy. You think it'll heal on its own. Or you're like, I don't know which doctor to go to.
Hold on, I'm gonna pause it. It's so weird. It's so weird to have commentary on an ad. But I actually saw a ZocDoc ad at a hotel room, like, because we had to watch TV and stuff, right? And I kid you not, this ZocDoc episode, this advertisement was so crazy. This girl comes down. Her mom is in the fucking dark with double pink eye going, this doctor is great. I found him on ZocDoc, and I'm like, okay, that's super fucking creepy, and I'm not sure why you thought that this was going to be a good advertisement campaign. Get a teledoctor service.
Trust me, I've made every excuse in the book too. But now I use ZocDoc, and it makes things a lot easier. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and instantly book appointments. We're talking about over 100,000 doctors from across every specialty, from mental health, dental, primary care, urgent care, you name it, they got it. And with ZocDoc, you can filter by insurance, see who's nearby, or in the description of this video. Now, back to the story. This is John Bolton. He was appointed National Security Advisor on April 9th, 2018 by then President Trump.
We have breaking news now and another high-level shakeup at the White House. President Trump has said in a tweet that H.R. McMaster, his National Security Advisor, is out to be replaced by former Ambassador John Bolton. Bolton will be the third person to fill that role.
Now, as National Security Advisor, John Bolton is privy to some of the nation's top secrets, like intelligence about future attacks by an adversarial group in another country, or revealing covert action planned by the U.S. government intelligence confirming a foreign adversary was responsible for an attack. And yes, that information is coming directly from the indictment. So the allegations are Bolton, from essentially day one, were going into these high-level meetings and taking handwritten notes of what was being said. And the indictment actually gives examples of what Bolton wrote on the notes. He would say something like the intel briefer said, or later on, it mentions that he'd say, while in the Situation Room, I learned that blank. Now, the government saying that John Bolton allegedly took these particular notes and then gave them to two family members. And those family members are his wife and his daughter.
It says that John Bolton derived secrets from his time as National Security Advisor, assembled them because he was writing a book, sent them over unclassified email and messaging apps to his wife and daughter. We've identified the two people as his wife and daughter.
I mean, guys, look. I was very upset with Pete Hegseth and everybody involved with the signal leak, right? if you are taking personal notes about these classified meetings and then sending that to a family member, this is if this is true, this is really not good.
So John Bolton is documenting his life as National Security Advisor, and then there are a couple of bumps that hit the road.
Learning that John Bolton didn't just leave the White House, he was essentially fired. A tweet from the president: I informed John Bolton last night that his services are no longer needed at the White House. I disagreed strongly with many of his suggestions, as did others in the administration, and therefore I asked John for his resignation, which was given to me this morning. I thank John very much for his service.
Okay, yeah,
I will be naming
excuse
me, a new national security advisor.
Jesus Christ, dude. Clear your fucking throat properly. Are you kidding me? Him, that's how you do it.
Advisor next week.
So now the indictment claims that John Bolton's notes from those meetings that he was privy to, he started sending them to his wife and daughter because he had planned to write a memoir about his time in the White House. Now, neither his wife nor his daughter had security clearances to look at this high-level information. Now, to make things even worse, these emails were being shared on private email services like AOL and Gmail, and not the secure U.S. government system to keep these secrets from getting out.
Ambassador. That's where he basically, he was an ambassador for the UN, and then he was replaced, he replaced, shit, I'm forgetting the guy's name, but Trump basically fired, his national security advisor and put in John Bolton in place.
There. Now, I need everybody to understand this investigation didn't actually start under the Trump administration. It started under the Biden administration. See, the intelligence community were hacking.
That actually gives it a lot more credence, because this means that this was an investigation that was happening or that was started due to political reasons. Right? Because I don't know why Biden didn't bring an indictment against John Bolton. Maybe he thought the optics was bad or whatever, but clearly there was some misappropriation going on here, and it was enough so that the Biden administration had launched an investigation against Bolton
into the Iranian computers and found a whole bunch of highly classified U.S. information in the Iranian networks. And while they were in the Iranian system, they saw that the Iranians had hacked John Bolton's personal email, and that's where they had gotten all this information from.
But when that hack occurred, apparently that is when the government learned that Bolton had been communicating, transmitting to these family members who were helping him with his book, classified information to which they were not entitled.
Now, the U.S. has a problem. They have full access to the Iranian computer systems, but they don't want the Iranians to know that. And now that the U.S. knew that the Iranians had hacked John Bolton's emails and had this information, they couldn't then charge John Bolton, because if they do that, the cat's out of the bag, and the Iranians would know the U.S. has access to their systems. So the Biden administration sat on the prosecution and decided not to charge Bolton.
It arose in the Biden administration.
Okay, that was my question. That's kind of funny, though. Yeah, we don't want to admit that we have full access to Iran's computer systems, including when they decide to hack us. So because we don't want to reveal that information and perhaps cause a international incident, we're going to just sit on this indictment of John Bolton. Okay, that explains the freaking economic political sear. Basically, they decided it wasn't worth it to reveal that information yet. I don't agree. Although, like, there is some cause for, like, food of the poison's truth and stuff, right? Because, again, you guys shouldn't have access to Iran's computer systems, but you do, and because you do, you found out that's happened.
And what seems to be the case is that they did not know the extent of what was in at least one of his email accounts until they discovered that they discovered the material that Iran had hacked through a U.S. intelligence penetration of Iran. That's according to my reporting. And that's one of the reasons this case didn't go forward in the Biden administration. It's because officials were concerned about revealing that penetration The Trump administration has made a different calculation. They're okay with revealing it. They've revealed it now to the Iranians. So whatever penetration they had is now shut down.
And when you lay out some of the information that the Iranians got, they got things like planning of covert military actions. They also got sources and methods. Who's actually the snitch that's helping the U.S. conduct operations? And look at this in number 17. Document reveals sources and collections used to obtain statements of a foreign adversary, covert operations conducted by the U.S. government in a foreign country. Now, with this alone, they had John Bolton dead to rights. But don't forget, he had stickies and these handwritten notes that he kept at his home. So the FBI went and raided his home to see if he was keeping
I remember the John Bolton raid, and I was always very confused by it. And we were always confused. Remember, was it John Bolton or another senator? But I remember, like, the warrant itself, when the person tried to ask, like, why was I indicted? Or why was I, like, given a search warrant? Like, the warrant was mostly redacted. It's the most insane thing. I've never seen anything like that. But if this was the nature of the search warrant and why, why they had to do things the way they did, then I could actually understand why so much of that search warrant was actually redacted, because it was ridiculous. But if it had a bunch of, what this has to do with national security, I guess that makes sense. It was a few months ago. Some political figure, I remember, was raided, and they made a big stink about it in the Senate, and they actually showed their search warrant, and most of the search warrant is redacted.
highly classified information in his home.
FBI agents raided the home of President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, this morning. David Spunt joins me now. David, what's going on here?
Well, the home and the office. We can add the office to the list of Ambassador John Bolton. He is the former national security advisor that butted heads with President Trump during Trump's first term. This happened about 7 o'clock this morning at Bolton's home, a couple of hours later at his office. Now, we are told by multiple sources this is related to the potential for Bolton having stored classified documents that officials believe he shouldn't have.
Now, page 60 of the indictment tells you exactly what was found. First, digital proof showing that Bolton sent classified information to family members. These are your phones, computers, and then there was physical and electronic copies of this information that they had printed out and left around the house or in the office. Now, the indictment also talks about Bolton's statements about handling classified information.
It sets a bad example for the thousands of other people in the federal bureaucracy who have security clearances, because if the people at the top can be casual about it and then get away with it, that is not a good lesson to teach.
Now, the interesting thing about this case is that both CNN and MSNBC have changed their tune about this whole story. They've actually read the indictment and agree that John Bolton is likely going to jail.
Bolton is the third outspoken Trump critic to be indicted over the last few weeks, along, of course, with former FBI Director Jim Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James.
Yes, President Trump's comments about someone being a bad guy is really irrelevant to whether they're charged with a crime, because that's based on conduct. But I will say, Stephanie, that in stark contrast to the indictments against Jim Comey and Letitia James, this one looks like some very serious alleged misconduct. Violations of the Espionage Act, 18 counts, each of which brings a 10-year potential maximum sentence that could be stacked. And, this is some professional work here. This quotes emails. This is not the kind of bare bones indictment we saw in the last couple of weeks. If these allegations are true, these are some serious charges.
Those are lawyers on MSNBC that are saying, hey, listen, the facts, the evidence, he's done. We can pretend that Trump doesn't like him or whatever, but the facts that are alleged is a righteous indictment. And with Comey and even with Letitia James, the media was saying, hey, all the experienced prosecutors dropped it. The experienced prosecutors wanted nothing to do with this.
Career prosecutors had objected to bringing this case against Letitia James, and the former...
Well, yeah, I will say that's kind of the big thing that stands out between, Letitia James, James Comey, and John Bolton. John Bolton's indictment, one, is much larger than either of the other twos. Letitia James and James Comey both had multiple career-long prosecutors quit their jobs and step out of office rather than bring a bogus charge against those two individuals. That's not happening. Just excuse me. That's not happening here, though. It looks like John Bolton might be I mean, whether it was his greed or whatever, he was recording classified information and distributing it on third-party channels. He should not have. Yeah, this is not. Is that
Former U.S. attorney in the office that ultimately prosecuted her, it's the one that Trump put in that role months ago, resigned after he was facing pressure to bring this particular case because he felt there wasn't enough evidence to do so.
But in the Bolton case, it was the experienced prosecutors who brought the case, making it less likely this is political retribution.
But this is a classified documents case, and it doesn't appear on its face that the president has orchestrated it as with the others. We can also see that this case was ultimately brought by experienced prosecutors. There are other tea leaves suggesting that this case is a little bit more substantial here, including that federal judge who greenlit the search of his home.
So now you have the facts in this case. The Comey indictment, the 2-page or 3-page indictment, was hot garbage. Letitia James' indictment seems to have a little bit more substance, but there's still an uphill battle to get that conviction. And this John Bolton's indictment, I think at the end of the day, is as clean as it gets, and John Bolton is probably going to take a plea, or he's going to make the argument this is political prosecution. But remember, it was actually the Biden administration who started it, and the reason why they couldn't follow through was because they didn't want to tip the Iranians that they had broken into the Iranian system and can see what they were seeing too. So it wasn't because Biden didn't want to indict him or didn't want to criminally charge him. It was because they wanted to continue to get the information from the Iranians. So let me know how you feel in the comment section. Is this another political prosecution, or when you look at the indictment and look at the facts, is it a righteous piece of work? Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is NateTheLawyer, and I gotta say this: 70% of the people who watch these videos and are listening to my voice right now won't hit the subscribe button. And the only way I can bring you these videos is if you do.
Rude. Let's just go ahead and check real quick. What the hell? I'm subscribed. I liked. Notification bell. Hit that shit. There you go. Alright. And Don Hotokun, welcome. Okay, we have 2 more. Yeah, we have 2 more. Free to go here. We're going to... This is actually one that was suggested to me last week before I left. This was actually suggested to me by Papa Elfpire. This is called, this is from Heavy D Sparks. It's called The Truth Behind Why I Was Thrown in Jail. It's about 30 minutes long, so it's our longest react of the day. And then we're going to have some Skyrim more reaction after. And then we'll call it a day. But without further ado, here we go. This is Heavy D Sparks, Heavy Diesel, I think he's called. I'm not like familiar with everything here. But it says in the truth behind why I was thrown in jail, right? Esther being wrongfully jailed over a civil case that was never criminal. That is all I read. And that's all I need to read to actually give this a listen. Because how the fuck were you thrown in jail in a civil case that was never criminal? Let's find out, shall we?
I have a message for you, Mr. Reed Zars, Dr. Brian Monk, and everyone else at the UPHE. You crossed a line you can't uncross. You wrongfully stole my freedom and tarnished my good name. And now, I will pursue accountability in every forum until this can never happen to anyone else. Because even though I'm vindicated, I'm nowhere near done.
You guys have to run. I don't know who, like, I don't know who the people who like, you, like, this guy's like coming for you, and he's coming for you legally. You're screwed. You have to run. I think I heard CHP. All I know is, even if you're a federal agency, you have to run from this guy. He's coming. He's coming for you.
Curtain.
Let's give him this, too, by the way. Because he says he's been vindicated, which means he's won whatever whatever court situation she needed to be quiet about. Which means he kept his mouth shut, he was vindicated, and now, and only now after the courts have had their say, is he actually revealing everything that happened. This dude is doing it exactly as one should. So, already plus points for that. Very interested to see what happened. Starting all the way back in fucking 2017. I don't know how things work in Utah, but this is interesting.
To the staff.
It's not good, it's not fun. I'm not saying any of that, right? It's honestly fucking probably more traumatizing than just being put in general pop. But again, you are locked up, you are put in chains, you are put in a cell by yourself, which means you're not locked up with the worst of the worst, because you'd be interacting with them otherwise. No, they isolated you, which is arguably worse than just, you know, admitting you into general pop for a couple days. Because again, and they've done research on this. They've done studies and stuff. Like, isolation for humans is one of the most mentally taxing things that a human being can go through.
Yep. Yesterday, found that the UPHE is made up of a bunch of...
What is this? Look at this fucking collective shout-looking motherfuckers. Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment. Clean air, clean energy, clean future. None of you look healthy. Maybe the guy in the middle, in the back. He looks like he's the healthiest. And he looks like he's just the head of the Ponzi scheme here. Let's see what this fucking environmental group actually is about, but already I'm getting red flags.
Or UPHE. So you need to understand that the UPHE is made up of a bunch of doctors who are also activists and environmentalists. The group is led by a doctor named Brian Monk. He is a very passionate man about the environment, and he is constantly out at rallies and protests and different events. On one hand, I can respect he wants the environment to be better and cleaner just like all of us, but on the other hand, unfortunately, I cannot respect the way that he's gone about trying to enforce Wyoming. Reed is
admitted to unlawfully accessing the property of a major corporation. That's just what happened. That's what he just said in court. I'm flabbergasted. I don't even... Okay. This is... I know that it makes sense why he can't disclose the amount. But dear God, does this not sound like a legal route of extortion? I don't know what else this is.
The fact that after they sued me, they followed along and saw the different partners.
Like, my Papa Elfpire really likes to watch him because he has a lot of recovery videos of them just recovering the most insane things you've ever seen. But, that's, like, yeah, he's always been like, oh, hey, this thing happened, it's a threat to the environment, let's get it out of there. So it's kind of wild to see him being sued by any kind of environmental advocacy group. What in the world? What just happened? What in the... What it can... I'm glad we're back, but what in the fuck? Is there a mess? Before I got a pause and... I don't know. Oh no, the cop... Oh, you mother... You're right, that's what he did. You guys are actually right, that's what he did. That freaking... That lawyer. That lawyer this dude's been dealing with. No, I can't talk about the UPHE. I can't talk about the... Oh, you... No, Diesel's video isn't down, but they've done some kind of bullshit with the copyright ID, stuff. So... Yeah, Reed. I'm pretty sure it's Reed. We're going to end the stream with, the Skyrim lie everyone still believes. I'm going to actually mark... Hold on, let me see here. Videos. I'm just gonna put this we're gonna do a kick reaction of the rest of this later. But for now, I can't risk it. So we're gonna move on to the final, reaction of the stream. That's the goat. The links to every video that I react to are always in the description.
Alright, picture this. You're playing Skyrim, you've just escaped Helgen, maybe you've joined the Stormcloaks or the Empire. Either way, you know who the real bad guys are. Those smug, gold-skinned elves in their black robes. The Thalmor. They just strut around like they own the place, dragging people off in the night for worshipping the wrong god. They're basically fantasy fascists, right? Wrong. They are so much worse. The Thalmor are not trying to conquer the world.
It's horrible. Like, people don't... Okay, so the Aldmeri Dominion and the Thalmor are literally trying to undo the planet. They are trying to undo what they believe was a mistake when the Aedra decided to give parts of their life force in the creation of Nurn. Because the elves were actually like spirit creatures during this time. They actually didn't have mortal bodies or anything like that, but when Nurn was created, elves were created. It gave them mortality, it gave them limitations they never had before. And so the Aldmeri Dominion and the Thalmor specifically want to undo the world. That is what they want to do. Exactly. Okay, you guys get it. And you're right, we are now adventuring, so it's time for the adventuring outfit.
They're trying to delete it. And not metaphorically, not symbolically. They want to literally unmake reality itself, dissolve the universe back into primordial chaos, and ascend to godhood from the ashes of everything you've ever known. And here's the kicker. They're actually succeeding.
You think I don't know what you're up to? You think I can't destroy you? The power to unmake the world at my fingertips.
Let me
Yeah, why does Ankano say that? Like, seriously, that is the Thalmor's goal.
Tell you a story about the most successful con job in Tamriel's history. The year is 4E 171. The Great War begins. The Aldmeri Dominion, led by the Thalmor, launches a massive invasion of the Empire. For 4 brutal years, elves and humans tear each other apart. Cities burn, entire legions vanish. The Imperial City itself falls, its streets running red with blood. Then comes the Battle of the Red Ring. Emperor Titus Mede II pulls off what everyone calls a miracle. He retakes the capital, drives out the elven armies, and forces them to the negotiating table. The Empire survives. Barely, but it survives. Except, what if that's exactly what the Thalmor wanted? Just look at what actually happened. The Thalmor presented an ultimatum before the war with a list of demands. The Emperor said no. 4 years and countless deaths later, he signed the White Gold Concordat. And get this, the treaty terms were basically identical to the original ultimatum. According to the book The Great War, the terms were harsh, but Titus II believed that it was necessary to secure peace and give the Empire a chance to regain its strength. All that death, all that destruction, just to get the Empire to sign the same piece of paper they'd rejected 4 years earlier. But why? Because in 4E 171, signing the treaty would have sparked immediate rebellion. But after 4 years of horror, people were begging for peace, any peace. And buried in all those territorial concessions and military restrictions was one bizarre clause that the Thalmor enforced with religious fervor: the ban on Talos worship. Think about that. We're talking.
Yeah, well, I mean, gods can lose their power and die if, they're basically like, it kind of like, some forms of D&D work like this. Oh, thank you, Bad News Batcher, for the gifted memberships. That will help a lot in these trying times to come. Where the heck is my chat? Hold on, I'm looking for my chats and I can't find it. We don't need you. Are you? Zero. Are you? Are you? Are you? Here we are, live streaming. Bam. Hop out chat. Better and both. Cool beans, cool beans, cool beans. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted members. By the way, it works like that in Palladium too. Yeah, well, that was, there's some D&D lore where, like worship or belief is literally, like, the sustenance of a god. Or even an archfey, etc.
About a continental superpower that just fought the bloodiest war in centuries, and their top priority afterward is making sure nobody prays to the wrong god. They don't just ban it officially, they send death squads, justiciars, across the entire continent to hunt down anyone who whispers Talos' name. This is not normal post-war behavior. That's not even normal tyranny. That's something else entirely. The Thalmor knew this ban would tear the Empire apart. Talos isn't just some deity to the Nords, he's Tiber Septim, the greatest human who ever lived, the man who became a god. Banning his worship was like outlawing the very idea of human greatness. And the Stormcloak Rebellion? That wasn't an accident. That was the plan. While the Empire bleeds itself dry fighting its own people in Skyrim's frozen mountains, the Thalmor watch. They wait. They created the perfect distraction for their real work. Because here's what nobody realizes. The Thalmor aren't trying to kill Talos' followers. They're trying to kill Talos himself. In the Elder Scrolls, gods draw power from worship. Cut off that worship and the god weakens. Cut it off completely, the god dies. This is confirmed in chapter 12 of the monomyth. Quote, "But the gods must have worshippers, Akatosh," said Illyria. "That's how they get their sustenance, or whatever it is that allows them to continue to be godly." The Thalmor are attempting deicide on a continental scale, and the Empire is helping them do it. But why? Why does this one god matter so much? To answer that question, we need to go deeper, way deeper, back to the beginning of everything.
Like a prison of existence.
The High Elves have a different story about how the world began, and once you hear it, everything the Thalmor do starts to make horrible, terrifying sense. According to the Altmer, their ancestors weren't always mortal. They were divine spirits. Etada, the original spirits, immortal, formless, living in a timeless realm of pure magic and possibility. They were quite literally gods. Most Altmeri and Bosmeri claim direct descendant from Ariel. In his only known moment of weakness, he agreed to take part in the creation of the mortal plane, that act which forever sundered the elves from the spirit world of eternity. To make up for it, Ariel led the original Aldmer against the armies of Lorkhan in mythic times, vanquishing that tyrant and establishing the first kingdoms of Aldmer, Aldmeris, and Old Elnofre. He then ascended to heaven in full observance of his powers so that they might learn the steps needed to escape the mortal plane. Then along came Lorkhan. In human myths, Lorkhan is complicated, sometimes a creator, sometimes a rebel, but to the elves, he's literally the devil, the ultimate deceiver, and he came to the spirits with a proposal. Let's create a new world, a material plane where we can experience existence in a whole new way. It'll be amazing, he said. Trust me. And many spirits agreed. They poured their divine essence into creating this new world, Mundus, the mortal plane. But the moment it was complete, they realized they'd been played. Humans, with the exception of the Red Guards, see this act as divine mercy, an enlightenment whereby lesser creatures can reach immortality. Aldmer, with the exception of the Dark Elves, see this act as a cruel deception, a trick that sundered their connection to the spirit plane. The material world wasn't a paradise, it was a prison. By investing their power into its creation, they'd become trapped inside of it. Their immortality was gone. They became bound by laws they'd never known: hunger, pain, aging, and worst of all, death. Some spirits realized the trap early and fled. Magnus, the architect, tore a hole in reality to escape. That hole became the sun. But for those who stayed, it was too late. They were stuck. They went from gods to mortals in a cosmic bait and switch. And this isn't just mythology to the Thalmor. This is their fundamental truth. Every day that they wake up in bodies that age and die is a reminder of what they've lost. Every mortal limitation is a bar in their prison cell. And humanity were not fellow prisoners to the Thalmor. According to their beliefs, Lorkhan created humans after the trap was sprung. We're made from the weakest souls, being specifically designed to populate and maintain his prison world. We are, in their theology, the children of their devil, the jailers of their hell. And that's why the Thalmor's ultimate goal isn't to rule us. You don't negotiate with prison bars. You don't make peace with the walls of your cell. You break them. But how do you break a prison made of reality itself? How do you unmake an entire universe? Reality in the Elder Scrolls isn't self-sustaining. It's held up by cosmic support structures called towers. These aren't just buildings, they're metaphysical anchors, each one imposing structure and law on the chaos of existence. Together they form a network that keeps reality from dissolving back into the primal soup of oblivion. The first tower, Adamantia, also called Adamantine Tower, was built by the gods themselves. When they created the world, they needed something to lock it into place, to make the temporary permanent. The stone, think of it as the tower's power source, is convention itself, the moment when the gods agreed that reality should exist. The spike of Adamantia and its zero stone dictated the structure of reality in its Arbic vicinity. After that first tower, others were built, some by gods, some by mortals trying to copy the gods' work. Each tower has its own stone. its own story. It tells reality about how things should be. Red Mountain in Morrowind with the Heart of Lorkhan as its stone, White Gold Tower in Cyrodiil with the Amulet of Kings, Crystal Like Law in Somerset, Snowthroat in Skyrim, each one a pillar holding up the roof of existence. And here's where it gets really scary. We've been unknowingly helping the Thalmor tear them down. Remember the end of Morrowind? The Nerevarine doesn't destroy the Heart of Lorkhan, they sever its connection to the world. The stone is unbound. Red Mountain goes inactive. Shortly after the volcano erupts, Vardenfell is devastated and the whole region falls into chaos. Tower down. And what about Oblivion? Martin Septim saves everyone from Mehrunes Dagon by destroying the Amulet of Kings. Heroic sacrifice? Absolutely, but he also destroyed White Gold Tower's stone. Another down. During that same Oblivion crisis, while everyone was distracted by portals opening everywhere, Daedra invaded Somerset. And what did they target? Not the cities, not the armies, the Crystal Tower. The Tower of Crystal Like Law cast to the ground with all the dignity of a beggar meeting an ironclad fist. And another tower goes down. Hopefully you're seeing the pattern. The Oblivion crisis was a catastrophe that conveniently deactivated two of the most important towers. And who rose to power immediately after claiming credit for ending the crisis? The Thalmor. They sacrificed their own people, their own sacred tower to advance their plan. Create the crisis, provide the solution, seize control, and take 3 towers off the board in one move. It's brilliant. It's terrifying, and it's working. With each tower that falls, reality gets just a little bit less stable. The walls between Mundus and Oblivion get thinner, and the prison walls weaken. But there's still one tower they can't touch. One that wasn't built by gods or ancient elves. One that was built by man. Now everything starts to click into place. Talos isn't just a god the Thalmor hate. He's not just a symbol of human achievement they want to erase. He is, metaphysically speaking, a tower holding up reality. And unlike the others, he can't be destroyed by knocking down a building or stealing an artifact, because Talos' tower is made of faith. When Tiber Septim became Talos, he did something that should have been impossible. A mortal man achieved godhood through deed and will alone. This wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't supposed to be possible in Lorkhan's prison. His transformation tells a different story about reality. Instead of Mundus being a prison to escape, Talos proves it can be a ladder to climb. Every prayer to Talos, every whispered by the Nine, reinforces this new story. Millions of humans across Tamriel believe in the god who was once a man. That belief doesn't just give Talos power, it literally reinforces the structure of reality. He's a living, divine proof that the prison isn't really a prison at all. His presence fortifies the wheel of the convention and binds our souls to this plane. The Thalmor can't just knock down this tower. They can't steal his stone. The only way to deactivate the Talos Tower is to stop people from believing in him, to erase him from memory, from history, from possibility itself. That's what the Justiciars are doing. Every heretic they catch, every shrine they destroy, every child they stop from learning about the Ninth Divine, it's all part of dismantling a tower made of faith. But even that isn't enough for their ultimate plan, because the Thalmor don't just want Talos dead, they want him to have never existed at all. Remove man not just from the world, but from the pattern of possibility, so that the very idea of them can be forgotten and thereby never again repeated. They want to reach back through time itself and delete humanity from the cosmic source code. No humans means no Tiber Septim. No Tiber Septim means no Talos. And no Talos means one less tower holding up the prison. And what happens when that last tower falls? When reality finally collapses? Maybe you're thinking this sounds too big, too insane to be true, but the evidence isn't hidden in obscure books. It's stated out loud by the Thalmor themselves when they believe they have the power to win. Look no further than Ancano, high-ranking Thalmor operative sent to advise at the College of Winterhold. When he gets his hands on the Eye of Magnus, an artifact of unimaginable power, what's the first thing he does? He doesn't try to conquer Skyrim with it. No. He goes straight for the big prize.
You think I can't destroy you? The power to unmake the world at my fingertips. And you think you can do anything about it?
That is not the boast of a would-be conqueror. That's the ecstatic cry of a true believer who just found a shortcut to paradise. He wasn't corrupted by power. He was trying to fulfill his sacred duty to unmake the world and free his people from the prison of mortality. The eye wouldn't just destroy the college, it would destroy the world. And Kano knew exactly what he was doing. But the most damning evidence comes from outside the games themselves. Michael Kirkbride, one of the original creators of Elder Scrolls lore, laid out the Thalmor's entire plan in a text written from their perspective. It's all there, every piece of the puzzle. Step 1, erase the upstart Talos from the mythic. Step 2, remove man not just from the world, but from the pattern of possibility. And step 3, the endgame. The dragon will become ours to unbind. The world of mortals will be over. The dragon will uncoil his hold on the stagnancy of linear time and move as free serpent again. The dragon is Akatosh, the god of time. To unbind him means to destroy linear time itself. No more cause and effect, no more past, present, or future. Reality dissolves back to the Dawn era, where gods were gods and anything was possible. The Thalmor regain their immortality, they escape the prison, and they win. And everything and everyone we've ever known ceases to exist. Not just dies, but ceases to have ever existed. The Thalmor aren't the fascist analogues everyone thinks they are. They're something far more terrifying. They're a hyper-intelligent, infinitely patient doomsday cult with a step-by-step plan to delete the universe. Every move they make, every political maneuver, every justiciar patrol, it's all aimed at this one goal. They've turned the Empire against itself. They've destroyed multiple towers already, and they're systematically erasing a god from existence. And the worst part is most of Tamriel has no idea. The Empire thinks they're dealing with political rivals. The Stormcloaks thinks it's about religious freedom. Even the Dragonborn probably thinks the dragons are the real threat. But the dragons, they just want to dominate the world. The Thalmor want to unmake it. They're not conquerors or supremacists in any sense we understand. They're reality terrorists, working to collapse the fundamental structures of existence so they can escape what they see as a cosmic prison. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Click that subscribe button, click like, and apparently there's like a hype thing now. I don't know if I could, can you give me a hype? Is that, anyway, click this video right here to...
I don't know what he's talking about. But... thank you so much, everybody, for spending the last couple hours reacting to content with me. Sadly, we're going to have to react to that last video a little differently, probably on a different platform. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell as hard as you possibly can, and we will see you all on the next one. Let me actually real quick though, because I can do this. Because I can click edit, then I can go to customization, and I can redirect, and we can raid into somebody. Let us raid into you know what, let's raid into Salvi. Alright, I will see you guys later. Oh wait, no, we had to have a good outro. Hold on, we have a good outro clip. Actually, you know what? Here. Just for VShojo and their dummy styles.
At VShojo, we believe our talents aren't just workers, they're family. And like family, we guilt them into shutting the fuck up. From the moment you walk through our doors, we're here for you. Listening, supporting, and going the extra mile to ensure that you can give us more money. At VShojo, we celebrate your victories, big and small, and stand by you for every challenge. Unless that challenge is being harassed for playing Harry Potter, then you're on your own. And when you do charity, don't worry. Your donations are secure with us. Secure to be given to the charity? Nah, we're keeping that shit. Fuck them kids, bruh. VShojo, where our talents have freedom. The freedom to get fucked over.